Hi guys. It feels kind of weird to talk in front of a camera because it's been some time since I did this. But okay, let's see. I know it's been a long time. Let's not even go there. So basically, this book called Bad Blood, and all of you should definitely read it. From the name, I thought it was going to be some kind of a serial killer book, like where there are a lot of gunners and all. I don't know. I don't know why, but that's what I thought. And it's not a book I picked. So basically, it was just lying at my home because my sister was reading this book, and I just picked it up because I was going through this kind of a reading slump, and I just wanted to I was just experimenting with different books to see which actually manages to keep my attention. And this book definitely did, but this is just in another league altogether. If I have to get to like what this book is about, the main part, which is amazing. If you already know it, then I'm glad you guys found my channel, because I'm sure you guys would like the other content also that hopefully I upload in the future also, and the ones I've already put out. For people who don't know, this book called Bad Blood is about this woman called Elizabeth Holmes, who is a founder of a startup company. Okay, she has a very impressive story where she goes to Stanford as a chemical engineering student, but she drops out in her second semester itself, develops this startup which actually has an amazing idea, which is basically the usual stuff we do when we want to draw blood for taking tests is we kind of inject using a needle, and she kind of called it the torture experiment because she hated needles. So basically what you do is you kind of have a finger pick, which basically picks your finger and blood comes off, and then you test that blood, you put it into a machine that was called Edison, and this machine looks like a CPU, is the size of a CPU or a little bigger, and it kind of does the analysis and then gives you the tests for over 200 diseases. And it was a brilliant idea, obviously, because who would want to get needles inserted into their bodies if there is an alternative of getting just a few drops of blood? Because needles, you take lots of blood out, right, for the tests you do. And she earlier on, like, she got a lot of investors on board also, and she pretty quickly managed to set up the entire place, and she employed people, and all of them looked up to her. All of them really were impressed by the idea she had, and the investors were ready to pour in their money for such a thing. But then people belonging to the medical field were very skeptical about this because they felt it was kind of impossible to do so many tests on just a few drops of blood, because if it could be possible, it would have been done long ago. But and people are researching about this, and this is just a 19-year-old girl. Yes, obviously age doesn't matter, because we saw people like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg achieve so much when they were really young. But oh shit, that's crackers. But then people from the medical profession argued that medicine and biology related research takes a long time, and that is why people who actually make breakthroughs are mostly in their 60s, because it takes a lot of time to get that knowledge and to really figure something out. So here there was a 19-year-old girl with this very big idea. So obviously they were very skeptical, but they didn't really know what was happening, or they could not get their hands on the technology or the process she used to find out the reports, because she made sure that nobody got it, calling it trade secret, which is fair. But the problem was that it was a complete scam. The machine did not work. It gave inaccurate results. So what her mission was, basically, people could have this machine, the Edison machine, at their homes, and using this machine, they can have access to their health information, which basically people have to go to labs for. So then they have to get a prescription from a doctor, and then because it's obviously a long procedure with so many steps, people just generally only take it when symptoms show, or probably once a year. But she felt that if we had a system like that at home, that you were able to access at any point of time to check your own health information, then you'd be able to see it like a movie, like a movie that has many frames. Every month, if you took tests from this very easily accessible machine, then you would have an idea of where your health's headed. So then it would be easier to kind of spot the potential of diseases like cancer. So obviously it was a great idea, and she really wanted to make it happen. She wanted people to have these at home, and she wanted Theranos. So basically the company is called Theranos, and she wanted it to be the biotech equivalent of Apple. And she was a huge fan or person who idolized Steve Jobs, and she wanted to be in that league. She wanted to be part of the startup culture in Silicon Valley, and which she did make it happen eventually. But the problem was, at the end of the day, it was all a scam. The machine did not work, as in it gave inaccurate results. And was she bad? Like, was her motive to fool people? Was her motive to fool people? I wouldn't say that. Initially, she must have started off hoping for it to become true, but then along the path, she always must have felt, you know what, we can fix this issue. But she needs money to continue with the process. So, because she needs people to work on the team, she needs the lab equipment, she needs the lab infrastructure. So she needs money to keep it all going, right? So then she would have meetings with the investors, and investors are not going to believe you when you say, you know what, if you give me the money, then I'll make it work. You have to show at least a working prototype. So she used to fool the investors into believing that it was a working prototype. But she always felt, you know what, I'm going to find it out in some time. And it just continued for a lot of years, almost close to 8 years, I think. The investors really believed in her because she was a very good speaker, she was very charismatic, she was very good at it. So all in all, she was a very good businesswoman. The problem was she was not a very good scientist. Things really got messed up along the way. And she never really allowed people in her company to question, because obviously the people working in the company knew that it wasn't working, it was showing incorrect results. So they have all these validation tests done in the company, right? So there'll be people assigned for that. So they have to do the tests. They'll have samples of blood, they'll have to do the test using the Edison machine, and then they do it with another machine, a blood analyzer. You have commercially available blood analyzers by Siemens and a lot of other companies, I think LabCorp. So what they do is they would compare the results and see if it is matching them, and there'd be lot of variations. So that is when the people working in the company knew, you know what, this is not working, and they've been trying to make this work, but it's just not scientifically possible. Never take that as the answer, which is okay, because you should really work towards making what your dream is a reality. But the problem was, without taking into consideration the health of the patients, she decided to, I think around 2014, she decided to take these machines, Edison machines, even to departmental stores like Walgreens, where people could just go and take blood tests right now. So basically now patients are at a risk, right? Because these patients would go, get their blood checked, and they take it to the doctor, and the doctor says that, say, the blood the blood reports show there's a high level of potassium. Then they would obviously give medication related to that. They would give them something that would regularize their potassium levels, and which is actually bad, because when that particular patient, because this really happened in real life, that particular patient got a blood tested from somewhere else, her potassium levels were completely normal. So then this is really dangerous if suppose you have tests that are coming out wrong. So then that was where she started making these mistakes, where when it was just a prototype, she's working on the mission, she really wants it to work, she could have just stayed in the lab, tried to make it work, but instead she already started distributing it to different companies and asked them to use it on actual patients. And that is when the people in the company itself grew even more skeptical about the entire thing. They did not want to be part of the company. A lot of people even resigned. When they actually went and spoke to Elizabeth, she would completely deny their claims, and she would make something up, and she'd try to convince them. And these people actually get convinced because she's such a great speaker. So when they come back to the lab and they start working, that's when it strikes them like, bro, it doesn't work. So then they feel like they are doing something very immoral, because these are patients' lives they're playing with. So then they leave the company. And then when they leave the company, they're made to like sign these non-disclosure agreements where they're not supposed to talk about whatever happened at all. So they cannot really put it on social media that this is wrong, or they cannot really approach the media and tell them that, this company is actually fooling people, because this Theranos had managed to have such a great law firm backing them because of the large amount of money they were raking in from these investors, big star investors. She had this strong legal power, and she could sue these people who would go complain to the media or put on social media, because they were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements. So people actually did not even speak anything, because people in those companies were just regular people who did not have such kind of money power to hit back on these lawyers who were backing the Theranos company. So that's how it continued for so many years. And there was this very toxic culture inside Theranos, where she knew people in the company had started questioning. So she used to like kind of put them in silos, so people wouldn't really communicate with each other. The chemistry team wouldn't talk to the math team, the statistics team wouldn't talk to the sales team. Like, there was no coordination between the teams, and that is why nobody could even come up with a solution, even though the solution was kind of impossible according to people in the medical domain. They were not really able to move forward in any way, because she kind of brought these barriers, and she had this strict mode of surveillance where everybody's mails were gone through regularly. And the thing is, around 2009, she gets this other guy called Sunny Balwani, who had his own share of startups earlier, and he sold it, and he's a very rich businessman right now. So he's kind of like this mentor for her, and he is about 20 years older to her, and he was the one who started developing this very toxic work culture, where people really feared these two, Elizabeth and Sunny, and they didn't want to say anything about the company, say anything about how wrong they are. And people also the company got to know that Sunny Balwani and Elizabeth were dating, and they were really close. They would walk into the company at the same time, they would leave the company at the same time, so the employees wouldn't be able to get Elizabeth alone to share share their concerns, because if they spoke to Sunny about their concerns, Sunny would just tell them that they don't know enough and they're really dumb enough to confront the company that's doing so well. The main reason why Sunny, who became president of the company, Sunny and Elizabeth did that, is because they didn't want the secret to go out that there's something wrong with their machines. And ironically, the machine is called Edison, which they intentionally obviously kept, because Edison is this is a less known fact, but we know that Edison basically created the light bulb. But then when he filed the patent, it didn't really work. The filament would melt, and when people used to come for experimentation, he would fake the results. And eventually, he does manage to build a light bulb that can last, but that just didn't happen in Elizabeth's case. She started off thinking, you know what, it's going to work, it will work, but it just did not work till the very end. And the company is just weird, like, when I read about this, I'm like, okay, this sounds like probably just a fictional story. How can people be fooled for so many years? But then when I went to LinkedIn and I typed, I could find an account for Theranos. When I went online and I Googled Theranos, you have a lot of websites talking about Theranos. So Theranos is real. So obviously now I know Theranos is real, but when I was reading and I didn't know about the company, it was kind of like this very mythical company for me. But then in the book, they say that employees inside Theranos itself weren't allowed to put Theranos in their LinkedIn work experience. They were supposed to put a private biotech company, because they just didn't want anybody from the outside to associate with the people working in the company, because for obvious reasons they just didn't this girl just didn't want other people to know what's happening inside. So yeah, this is the great book, and it's definitely a book I recommend, and you guys should buy it. Like, if you're out looking for a book to read right now, this book is a highly recommended book. It's written by John Carreiro, who is an investigative journalist who I think is working currently at the Wall Street Journal, and he's just amazing. This book you just feel like flipping pages and pages, and you can never stop. It's a complete thriller, actually. says secrets and lies in a Silicon Valley startup. Yeah, it's like full of tea and gossip, and it's not that petty. It's like he goes really into the depths of it, and it's very interesting, and it's a definite recommended read. Yeah, I don't want to really reveal a lot of things about the book, so I've been like, every time some point comes, I'm like, okay, you know what, this I should mention, let them read it. Then I can't say there are spoilers because all this information you'll get it on Google even if you go type it. But why tell you guys that? Like, just read the book and then have fun, enjoy the process of it. So, especially because Elizabeth Holmes is a very interesting character. She's obviously in the wrong, and how the story unfolds, like how you'd be hoping that she gets exposed, so that waiting for people to understand. So, very thriller book because you'll have people coming to check the machine, and then you're just waiting to try and find out if she really gets caught. So, it's very interesting. Yeah, one more thing. So when I told Edison kind of faked his experiments, even she did that. So when people, because obviously it's not like some kind of a tech startup, right? It's something related to health. So there'll be people from, say, the health department or whatever. There'll be proper departments where they come and kind of approve and see pass quality checks on the machine. So people like that, every time they come, or mostly like when investors also come, because even they have to believe, they have to be convinced to, right? So when they come, what these people would do, what Elizabeth would do is like, let's take the blood, and then why don't we just go have lunch, and then we'll come back and then we'll check the results. And these people, based on the way she speaks, they agree to her, then she makes jokes and all that, great small talk, and then they go sit, have lunch. By then she gets her people to take the sample of blood, go get it tested on another commercially available blood analyzer, and bring the results and then quickly feed it onto her machine. So this is actual fraud. So basically there are cases against her. She gets convicted, she can spend 20 years in jail. Yeah, that's the story, guys. Okay, so other gossip about Elizabeth Holmes is the fact that she idolized Steve Jobs so much that she also wore the clothes similar to what he wore. Like, he is really popular for wearing this black turtleneck, so even she started wearing something similar to that. But she used to tell in her interviews, no, I've been wearing this from when I was 6 years old, stuff like that. But anyway, she really was a big fan of his. So basically, she was reading this biography of Steve Jobs, and the people in her company could actually tell which chapter she was reading by the way her management style was that week, because she would literally alter it to match what Steve Jobs' style was. So where these people would like also look up the book and see, oh, she's doing this week, so probably she's in this chapter. So she wanted to replicate what Apple was, but for the bio field. And she also, like, she if you listen to her voice, she has this very deep voice. People having those voices, like when you have, it's considered to be more trustworthy. And especially in a male dominated area like Silicon Valley, she really didn't want to walk around with a high pitched voice. So people say, this is again what people think, that she used to fake her voice and keep it really low pitched. So right now, okay, I'm obviously speaking in a high pitched voice, but if she wanted to fake it, she'd do something like. So yes, guys. So what you do is you take the sample. Actually, I can make it even deeper. So basically, that's so funny, God. Uh, so so what you do is you have this thing. We're using nanotechnology for it to actually take few drops of blood. It's a nanotainer. So you put the nano inside the nanotainer. You put this drops of blood, and then you insert it into this machine of ours, and this machine would take it inside, perform the necessary tests, and it would bring it actually much deeper than this, to be honest. You could go watch it. It sounds weird when you even listen to it.
But what was so wonderful about it is that these young girls who are in the audience.
Yeah, so people, and then some employee, when he was speaking to the investigative journalist later on, said, you know what, I don't think that's the real voice, because when we were having a meeting one day with just the two of us, because I just newly joined the company, and we were speaking, she basically suddenly, she was really excited that this new person joined. So in the midst of the excitement, she forgot probably to like put on the fake baritone, and she kind of spoke in her natural sounding voice, and that was told by one of the employees there. But who knows, man, like, I mean, that's hardly a problem. Like, that's her life. Let her do whatever she wants. But the the focus on this is that she was somebody who wanted to be something, and she wanted to really fake it till she made it, but she just couldn't make it because it was something that was not possible in the technology, at least right now with the knowledge of science we have as of now. Yeah, actually, there are so many things to talk about, but it would take so long. So I think it's better if you guys just go read it. Told you guys this so many times. So yeah. So people in the medical profession, why they felt it was kind of shady, and not shady, like why it wasn't possible, is because the box is only the size of a CPU. Okay, so you're gonna have all the test tubes. You're gonna have the pipettes. There's a mechanical arm that would hold the pipette, and it would move um, and insert the blood in one test tube. It would take the necessary reagent and pour it into this test tube. So all of this is happening inside this small box, and there's going to be a lot of heat generated obviously inside, because you also have a mechanical arm in the box. So then obviously, because of the extra amount of heat there is going to be changes in the chemical reaction that's taking place, and that's obvious. But they didn't really have any system within the company. The employee later tells that they never had any system like that within the company also, so it's just bound to make mistakes. And not just that, when this arm sort of moves back and forth, it's very likely that it breaks inside this box, and the blood can actually splatter everywhere, and you can't really take it out often to clean it up also. So say if you have it in a departmental store, and somebody with some kind of a infectious disease comes and tests their blood, and then their blood somehow drips inside the machine, and then later when somebody else kind of like goes to clean the machine, there apparently there are a lot of like sharp stuff inside. So if suppose there's some needle sort of thing inside, and it kind of pricks the finger, then you might expose your finger, your bare finger, the open cut finger, to this blood belonging to the person having the infectious disease. So it is kind of really messed up situation, and it was not accounted for at all within the company. Nobody, like, there's no one taking feedback in the first place to try make changes and all that. So it was just a messed up situation. Read the book. I hope I did justice to what was there in the book, but even after telling you all this, you guys are in for a lot of surprises, and I really like recommend this book. So yeah, so until next time, have a great day. Bye.